morning, everybody. Am I loud enough? So, Belle has put me on the spot. Because he's my friend, I'll pardon him. My married name is Afia, so I'm blessing Obinaju Afia, but in professional circles, I am blessing Obinaju, or simply blessing. It's a pleasure to be speaking on one of my very favorite subjects, which is personal development. And that's because I think that in the Nigerian circles, it is highly neglected, and yet is the most important thing. Before I begin, can I have 5 volunteers? You're wondering what I'm going to do with this. Yes, thank you. Done. I have 5. So, no, please. I won't ask you to come out, but I just want 5, just to make my work easier. When I get to the point where I need your help, I'll let you know. So you have 3 ladies now. And I have 5 people already. They know themselves. When I get to that point, you'll help me in this presentation. Before I dive straight into it, I'd love to clarify this title. It says Keys to Advancing in Uncertain Times. And what I want to clarify is that term, uncertain times. The truth is, every day of your life is an uncertain time. The only difference between one day and the other is the degree of uncertainty. So there really isn't any era. We can't pinpoint maybe the 21st century or maybe the 19th century to say that's an uncertain time, because every day is basically an uncertain time. And so this talk is just going to be around everyday life and the fact that I consider life to be a form of art. And like every form of art, it takes skill, diligence, discipline, and most of all, practice in order to perfect it. So here's my favorite organism in the world, the tree. And this is where my volunteers will help me. So if we consider the tree, generally if you're considering a tree, just on the spot, just shout out one word. When you look at the tree, one word that comes to your mind. My 5 volunteers.
Leaf.
Good? Well, but what does it symbolize for you? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Life.
Life? Great. Growth? Yeah? Shelter? Stability. I like that one. Now, for me, when I look at the tree, these are the words that come to my mind. Strength, stability, loyalty, growth, flexibility. And the most important one, the one that I love the most, is actually uniqueness. The fact being that even if you take 2 species, 2 trees of the same species, you will always find one thing in the other that the other doesn't have. So that's just the base of all my talking today. The fact that we are all different, we are all unique. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's what I think most people tend not to realize. The fact that being unique, being different, is a great thing, actually. And when you think of the tree in its own environment, it encounters certain uncertainties as well. But what makes it thrive, what makes it evolve, what makes it grow, what makes it survive, is the fact that it first of all understands its basic needs, and then it learns to adapt as its environment changes. And those 2 words actually are everything that I'm going to be talking about today: understanding and learning. The tree, when you think of the tree, the first thing I would say now, I'm talking of the tree as something with a brain, yes, because I do think it's intelligent. The first thing it understands is its need for nutrition. It does understand its need for growth, which is based on nutrition as well. It understands its need to move, and which is exercise to you and me, And within its environment, there are certain changes that could hinder or could tend to deprive it of most of these needs. And based on that understanding, it learns to sort of navigate itself towards sources that tend to fulfill this need. Now, why am I talking of needs? I'm talking about needs because based on each of our individual uniqueness, we all have different needs. in different levels of priority that we tend to desire to fulfill, whether we know them or not. And it's only through understanding these various needs, understanding yourself as a person, and understanding your needs in their different priorities, that you actually are able to learn and then grow. Having understood these days I kind of find myself laughing in certain circles. That's just because maybe within that environment at that point in time, I kind of understand maybe I'm trying to fulfill my need for relevance, maybe, or my need for stability, or my need for certainty at that particular point in time. But these are all things that I talk when I'm giving proper personality lectures anyway. So you need to understand yourself as a person and your needs, which is what forms the entirety sometimes of your personality. And having understood those needs and then using my tree again as a perfect example. Now, having understood its own needs, when it's deprived of, say, a source of sunlight or hydration, okay, it naturally navigates towards any source that fulfills that need for it. That's just the layman's explanation for scientific terms like phototropism, hydrotropism, and geotropism. You know, it's just the tree's own instinctive understanding that I need this to survive. Well, it's just the basic difference between the tree that survives in a desert and the one that doesn't. Because it understands its need to feed, it needs to photosynthesize, and therefore it has to find that sunlight. It will just, find its way. It learns to navigate towards sunlight. And when we talk about learning, this is the part that gets me in Nigeria. You talk about learning, and the first thing that pops into people's mind is a certificate. For me, it's never about the certificate. And I know, this coming from a PhD student, a lecturer, and somebody who is basically an academic. It sounds, yeah, you're the one to talk, you have all the certificates. But really, that's just professional development, if you ask me. Certificate is simply professional development. But when you talk about learning, which for me is intellectual development, it's about everyday life. And based on that, this is a question I have learned to ask myself at the end of every day. What have I learned today? And when I ask myself, what have I learned today, I'm not asking, so, what certificate have I gained? I'm asking myself, what new word have I learned? I'm asking myself, what new skill have I acquired? What new thing have I discovered about myself? So what's different from the blessing who woke up this morning and the blessing who's standing at the end of her day? And the reason you need to ask yourself these questions are because whether you like it or not, these little things that you think are irrelevant, these little things that you think are not what, making a fuss about, are actually the things that open most of the doors for you. You could need some of these things as conversation starters, icebreakers, and sometimes it could be your get out of jail free card. Yeah. So everyday life is about learning. First of all, it's about understanding, it's about learning. And those two key factors are the only thing that drives your growth. These are the basic keys to advancing in whatever uncertain time you think you are living in. So if you get nothing out of my talk today, these are the two things I want you to go home with. The fact that with every change is an opportunity to grow. So it's up to you, it's a choice. You can either groan about the change or decide to just, build yourself up and grow with it. Because like that tree, no matter what it experiences in its environment, no matter what environmental change throws at it, the one that survives is because it has understood that if it doesn't learn the things that it needs to grow it, then it will just die. And with every form of growth, it takes diligence, courage. In fact, growth in its own right is an act of faith. So it takes diligence, it takes courage, it takes self-discipline. And above all, it takes practice to get to where you go. Thank you very much.